Chapter 1. When your inner alarm rings too loud. Hey friend, can I ask you something? Do you ever wake up in the morning, and before your feet even touch the floor, your mind is already off to the races? One thought tumbling into another. Will I get enough done today? What if something goes wrong? What if I mess up and let someone down? If you're nodding right now, I want you to know something really important. You're not alone in this. Not even close. Living with anxiety can feel like you're hooked up to a steady drip of worry that never quite turns off. It's there when you wake up, it follows you through your day, and sometimes, maybe even most times, it crawls into bed with you at night. But here's the first thing I really want you to hear, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You are not broken. You are not weak. What you're experiencing, it's something deeply, profoundly human. Your built-in alarm system. Let me explain something that changed everything for me when I first understood it. Inside every one of us, there's something like an inner alarm system. I want you to picture it like a smoke detector in your mind. And here's the thing, it has one job and one job only: to keep you safe. If it even suspects danger, it goes off, beep, beep, beep. And sometimes, that alarm is absolutely life-saving. Imagine you're about to step off the curb, lost in thought, when suddenly a car comes speeding around the corner. In a split second, your heart races, your muscles tighten, and you jump back to safety. That right there, that's your alarm doing its job perfectly. But here's where things get tricky. This alarm system of ours, it doesn't know how to adjust to modern life. It can't tell the difference between a real, immediate danger and everyday worries. So it goes off, not just when there's a speeding car, but for everything. An awkward conversation at work, a small mistake you made yesterday, a health symptom you read about online at 2 a.m., that text message someone hasn't replied to yet. All of these things feel like life or death threats. They all get the same blaring response. Why your body reacts when you know you're safe. You might find your body reacting even when you know, logically, rationally know that you're safe. Your heart pounds as if you're facing real danger. Your breathing gets short and shallow. Your chest feels tight. And your mind keeps insisting, something is wrong, something is very wrong. Here's the truth that helped me make sense of all this. This alarm is ancient. We're talking thousands and thousands of years old. It evolved way back when our ancestors faced real, immediate dangers every single day. Predators lurking in the shadows, the constant threat of hunger, the very real possibility of being rejected or cast out from the tribe, which back then could literally mean death. In that world, being too careful, being hypervigilant, worrying about every possible threat, that could actually save your life. But today, that same alarm still treats a stressful email from your boss like it's a wild animal attack. It can't tell the difference. The two big mistakes anxiety makes. When this alarm goes off too often, two really big mistakes tend to happen. I see these patterns in myself all the time, and maybe you do too. First, we overestimate the danger. We convince ourselves that the worst-case scenario isn't just possible, it's inevitable. It's definitely going to happen. And second, we underestimate ourselves. We completely forget that even if things go wrong, we can adapt, we can recover. We can learn. We can move forward. We've done it before, and we can do it again. This is exactly why anxiety feels so incredibly powerful. It keeps you stuck in this exhausting loop of over-preparing, overthinking, and over-worrying. It's like every time you try to silence the alarm, it just blares even louder. You are not the alarm. So what's the first step out of this? What's the beginning of real change? It's understanding this one crucial thing. You are not the alarm. Read that again if you need to. You are not the alarm. The alarm is just one part of you, one system in your body and mind that's doing its job a little too enthusiastically, a little too well even. But you are the one who hears it. You are the one who notices it ringing, and you are the one who has the choice, the power to respond differently. This shift in perspective is absolutely transformative. When you start seeing anxiety not as some fundamental flaw in who you are, but as an overactive safety system that's just trying to help, you stop fighting yourself. You begin to realize something beautiful. You can live fully, richly, meaningfully, even when the alarm rings. A moment to reflect. I want to invite you to pause here for just a moment. Take a gentle breath. What does your alarm usually go off about? Is it your health, your relationships, your work, money, what other people think of you? Just notice. No judgment, just awareness. Because here's what I've learned. Simply noticing these patterns is the very beginning of change. Just seeing them clearly, with compassion, starts to shift something. Once you can see the alarm for what it is, once you can observe it instead of being completely swept up in it, it starts to lose some of its power over you. And that, my friend, is the first step towards freedom.
Chapter 2. The 3 Assumptions that Keep the Alarm Ringing. Let me ask you to do something for a moment. Think back to the last time your anxiety really took over, really grabbed hold of you. Maybe you were lying in bed at night, replaying a conversation in your head over and over, worrying about whether you said the wrong thing. Or maybe you were facing a big decision, and no matter how much you thought about it, no matter how many pros and cons lists you made, you just couldn't feel certain you were choosing the right path. Can you picture that moment? Now, here's what I want you to notice, and this is really important. If you look closely at those anxious moments, you'll discover something hiding beneath the surface. Behind almost every anxious thought, there's an assumption, a hidden rule your mind is desperately trying to follow. These rules usually sound something like this. 1. I must be certain. 2. I must not make mistakes. 3. I must make sure everyone else is okay. Do any of those land for you? Maybe all 3? Let's unpack each one together, because understanding these assumptions is going to change how you see your anxiety. Assumption number 1. I must be certain. Your alarm app? It absolutely hates uncertainty. Despises it, actually. It operates on this belief that if you don't know exactly what will happen, then danger must be lurking somewhere, just waiting to pounce. So what do? You find yourself checking things over and over and over. You Google your health symptoms at midnight. You check the locks on the door 3, 4, maybe 5 times before bed. You reread your text messages to make absolutely sure you didn't say something wrong. You go over every detail of tomorrow's meeting in your head. And each time you check, you feel a little calmer. A little relief washes over you.
But here's the thing. It only lasts for a moment. Because what's actually happening is your alarm is learning a dangerous lesson. See? Uncertainty really is dangerous. We need to check even more next time. I'd better ring even louder. Can I tell you something that might feel uncomfortable at first, but is ultimately so freeing? Life is full of uncertainty. like absolutely packed with it. And the more we demand 100% certainty about everything, the more anxious we become. It's like trying to hold water in your fist. The tighter you squeeze, the more it slips away. Assumption number 2. I must not make mistakes. Maybe you know this one by its other name, perfectionism. It's that voice inside that says, if I don't do this perfectly, people will see I'm a failure. They'll know I'm not good enough. So you over-prepare for everything. You rehearse conversations in your head before they even happen. You avoid taking risks or trying new things because, well, what if you mess up? What if you look foolish? And for a while, this approach seems like it's keeping you safe. It feels protective. But here's what it actually costs you. You stop growing. You stop trying new things. You stop taking chances on opportunities that could bring you joy or meaning. And you end up completely exhausted from chasing standards that are literally impossible to reach. Can I share something with you? Everyone makes mistakes. Every single person. That's not just okay. That's literally how we learn and grow as humans. But when your alarm is too sensitive, it treats every small slip-up, saying the wrong word in a meeting, arriving 5 minutes late, forgetting someone's name, as if it's a life-threatening catastrophe. It's not. I promise you, it's not. Assumption number 3. I must make sure everyone else is okay. This one often feels like it comes from a good place, doesn't it? It feels like responsibility, like love, like caring. You want to keep the people around you happy, safe, and comfortable. That's beautiful, honestly. But when this assumption runs your life, it becomes completely overwhelming. You find yourself saying yes when every fiber of your being wants to say no. You carry other people's emotions as if they're your own burden to bear. If someone's upset, your first thought is, it must be my fault. I should fix it. I need to make this better. And while caring deeply for others is one of the most beautiful parts of being human, believing you are responsible for everyone else's happiness, that's impossible. It's like trying to control the weather with your thoughts. It leaves you burned out, resentful, walking on eggshells and constantly on edge. The big insight that changes everything. So here's what I need you to understand, and this is huge. These 3 assumptions, certainty, perfection, and responsibility, they feel like they're keeping you safe. Your mind genuinely believes they're protecting you. But in reality, they're feeding the alarm. Every time you seek absolute certainty, the alarm learns that uncertainty is dangerous. Every time you strive to be flawless, the alarm learns that mistakes are unacceptable. And every time you take on someone else's emotions, the alarm learns that you must never, ever let anyone be upset. Do you see the pattern? These rules promise safety and control, but they actually turn the volume up on your anxiety. Your turn to reflect. I want you to pause here for a moment. Take a breath with me. Think about your own life. Which of these rules do you live by most strongly? Are you finding yourself constantly needing certainty before you can move forward? Are you avoiding mistakes at all costs? Or are you taking on way too much responsibility for other people's feelings and problems? Or maybe it's all 3. And that's okay. No judgment here. Just noticing these hidden assumptions, just seeing them clearly for what they are, can be a genuine turning point. Because once you see them, you can begin to question them. You can start to ask, is this rule actually serving me, or is it keeping me trapped? A comforting truth. Here's something I want you to hold close to your heart. You don't need to be certain to live fully. You don't need to be perfect to be loved and valued. And you don't need to carry everyone else's struggles to be worthy. Read that again. Let it sink in. The alarm might still ring sometimes. That's okay. But when you stop feeding these impossible rules, when you stop reinforcing them with your actions, it begins to quiet down. Gradually, gently. It starts to turn down its volume. And that brings us naturally to our next step. Understanding how our behaviors, all those things we do to try to control or avoid anxiety, actually keep the whole cycle spinning.
Chapter 3. Feeding the Alarm. Let me ask you something. Think about the last time you felt really anxious. Got it? Now, what did you do about it? Maybe you opened up Google and started searching your symptoms just to make absolutely sure you weren't sick. Maybe you avoided making that decision you needed to make, telling yourself, I'll deal with it later when I'm feeling better. Or maybe you distracted yourself, scrolling through your phone, snacking on something, shopping online, basically anything to quiet that uncomfortable feeling inside. Sound familiar? All of these? They're what I call safety behaviors. They're the little and sometimes not so little things we do to try to shut the alarm off, to make it stop ringing, even just for a moment. And here's the thing. For a moment, they actually work. You feel calmer. The tension eases. You feel safer, like you've dodged a bullet. But here's the catch, and this is really important to understand. Each time you use one of these strategies, the alarm is learning something. It's taking notes. And the lesson it learns is, yes, this situation really was dangerous. Good thing we acted. Good thing we escaped. We need to be even more careful next time. And so next time, it rings even louder, even earlier, even more insistently. How we accidentally train our anxiety. Let me paint a picture. Maybe you'll recognize yourself in it. You sit down to work on an important project, something that really matters to you. Suddenly, out of nowhere, your heart starts racing. Your mind jumps in with, what if I mess this up? What if it's not good enough? Instead of pushing through that discomfort, you suddenly remember you need to check your emails. Or, hey, the kitchen really does need cleaning, doesn't it? Or maybe you just need to double-check some details you already know are fine, just to be sure. For a moment, sweet relief washes over you. The anxiety backs off. You can breathe again. But what message did you just send to your alarm? What did it learn from that interaction? You told it that working on that project was genuinely unsafe. You confirmed the danger was real. You fed the alarm.
This is exactly how anxiety becomes a self-perpetuating cycle. The alarm rings, you react with a safety behavior. The alarm quiets down for a short time, then it comes back even stronger than before. And each time you repeat this cycle, it reinforces the rule in your brain. This situation is dangerous. Avoid it at all costs. Over time, something heartbreaking can happen. Your world starts to shrink. You avoid the meeting because it makes you nervous. You skip the doctor's appointment because you don't want to hear bad news. You turn down opportunities because they feel too risky. You stop reaching out to friends because what if they think you're annoying? And little by little, step by step, life gets smaller and smaller. Even though what you really want deep down is to live bigger, to live fully, to feel free. Your alarm only learns by watching what you do. So every single time you avoid something, escape from something, or distract yourself from something, the alarm sees that as absolute proof that the danger was real. It thinks, see, we were right to be afraid. That was a close call. But here's where it gets interesting. and honestly, kind of beautiful. When you choose to stay, when you keep going, even with the alarm ringing in the background, when you feel the fear and do it anyway, something amazing happens. The alarm notices. It starts to see that nothing bad actually happened, and over time, gradually, it begins to settle down. It learns that it doesn't need to protect you quite so fiercely.
Everyday examples you might recognize. Let me share some common patterns, and I want you to see if any of these feel familiar. If you constantly check your body for signs of illness, every twinge, every sensation, your alarm learns that every single bodily feeling is suspicious and potentially dangerous. If you endlessly research before making any decision, reading reviews, asking for opinions, making pro-con lists, researching some more, your alarm learns that mistakes are absolutely unbearable and must be avoided at all costs. If you keep texting or calling someone just to make sure they're okay, or to make sure they're not mad at you, your alarm learns that you are solely responsible for their safety and happiness. Do you see the pattern emerging? Each of these actions provides short-term relief, but creates long-term anxiety. It's like taking out a loan with terrible interest rates. You feel better now, but you'll pay for it later. The first step toward change. So how do we begin to break this cycle? How do we stop feeding the alarm? The first step, and I can't emphasize this enough, is simply awareness. Just noticing. No judgment, no shame, just observation. Start to notice when you're feeding the alarm. Pay attention to those little things you do to feel safe or to get temporary relief. And here's what's really important. You don't need to change them right away. I'm not asking you to suddenly stop doing all your safety behaviors. That would be overwhelming. Just notice them. Watch them with curiosity, like you're a gentle scientist observing your own behavior. Because noticing creates something precious. It creates distance. A little space between you and the alarm. A tiny gap between the feeling and your automatic reaction. And in that space, you begin to see something powerful. You have a choice.
Your turn to reflect. Here's a gentle reflection I'd love you to sit with. Think about one area of your life where anxiety shows up regularly. Just one. Maybe it's work, or health, or relationships, or social situations. Now ask yourself, what's the safety behavior I usually reach for? What's my go-to move? Do you check something? Do you avoid something? Do you seek reassurance? Do you distract yourself? Do you over-prepare? Just naming it out loud, even just to yourself, can feel surprisingly powerful. It brings it into the light. Because once you can name it, once you can see it clearly, you can start to experiment with doing something different. The new message you can send. Remember this and hold it close. Every time you choose to face the situation instead of feeding the alarm, you're sending a new message. You're teaching your brain something different. You're saying, I can handle this. I'm okay. I'm safe. And slowly, step by step, the alarm learns that it doesn't need to scream so loudly anymore. It can dial it back. It can trust you a little more. Now, I need to be honest with you. This won't happen overnight. Change takes time. The alarm has been learning these patterns for years, maybe even decades. It's going to take patience and practice to teach it something new. And yes, the alarm will still ring sometimes, maybe even a lot at first. But here's what changes. You'll know, deep down you'll know, it's just a false alarm. It's not a monster. It's not a sign that something is fundamentally wrong with you. It's just your brain being a little overprotective, like a well-meaning but slightly paranoid security guard. And with practice, with gentle persistence, you'll discover something truly liberating. You don't need to escape anxiety to live your life. You can live with it. You can let it be there in the background while you do the things that matter to you. And more than that, you can live beyond it. The alarm might be ringing, but you're the one who decides what you do next.
Chapter 4. Playing it safe. Let me share a scene with you that you've probably witnessed before. Picture a parent in the grocery store with their tired child. The kid is exhausted, overwhelmed, and suddenly starts crying, then screaming. The parent, understandably wanting to keep the peace, and maybe feeling the eyes of other shoppers on them, quickly hands over a box of cookies. And like magic, silence. Sweet relief. But here's the question. What did the child just learn from that interaction? If I cry loud enough, I get a treat. My crying works. I should definitely do that again. Now, I'm not here to judge parenting. We've all been that parent or that child at some point. But here's why I'm telling you this story. Our inner alarm works exactly the same way. When we rush to calm it down by avoiding things, distracting ourselves, or trying to control every single detail, we teach the alarm that its panic was justified, that the threat was real, that it did the right thing by going off. And next time, it rings even louder, even earlier, because, hey, that strategy worked last time. What are safety strategies? We call these actions safety strategies, and they're everywhere in our lives once we start noticing them. They're the habits we automatically turn to when the alarm starts ringing, the things we do to try to make the discomfort go away, to regain a sense of control, to feel safe again. Sometimes they're really obvious, like completely avoiding a party because the thought of meeting new people makes your stomach twist into knots. Other times they're much more subtle, like going to the party but only talking to people who approach you first, or staying near the exit, or keeping your phone in your hand as a security blanket. On the surface, these strategies look harmless. They might even look like smart, reasonable choices. But here's what's actually happening.
Each time we use them, we strengthen the alarm. We send a clear message to our brain. Yes, this situation really was dangerous. Good thing I played it safe. Good thing I protected myself. And the alarm files that information away for next time. The most common safety strategies. Let me walk you through some of the most common safety strategies. See how many feel familiar to you. Distraction. When anxiety starts bubbling up, we immediately reach for something, anything, to pull our attention away. We pick up our phone and scroll through social media. We grab a snack even though we're not hungry. We turn on the TV. We start cleaning. We call a friend just to chat about nothing in particular. And it works. For a few minutes, maybe even an hour, we feel better. The anxiety fades into the background. But underneath, the alarm is still there, still buzzing quietly, just waiting for its next opportunity to ring. Over-planning. We make endless lists. We map out every possible detail of the day, the week, the upcoming trip, that difficult conversation we need to have. We think through every scenario. We plan for every contingency. We try to account for everything that could possibly go wrong. Now, don't get me wrong, planning is useful. Planning is good. But when it comes from a place of fear, when the urge to be absolutely certain about everything, that's different. And here's what happens. When things don't go exactly as planned, which, let's be honest, is pretty much always, The alarm rings even louder because we've taught it that deviation from the plan equals danger. Checking. This one shows up in so many ways. We check if the door is locked. Not once, but 3 times, 5 times. Sometimes we get in the car and drive away, only to turn around and check again. We reread emails over and over before sending them, making sure we didn't say the wrong thing. Then we reread them again after we send them, just to be absolutely sure. We monitor our body constantly for every tiny sensation. That twinge in your chest, is that your heart? That headache, could it be something serious? We Google, we check, we scan. Each check calms us for a moment. We feel that little rush of relief. But what we're really doing is telling the alarm, good thing I checked, danger avoided, keep watching closely. Trying too hard to relax. This one might sound strange, but stay with me. Sometimes even our attempts to calm down become another trap, another safety strategy. We think, if I could just relax, if I could just breathe deeply enough, if I could just meditate properly, the alarm would stop. So we put all this pressure on ourselves to feel calm. We desperately try to force relaxation. We get frustrated when we can't do it right. And the more pressure we put on ourselves to feel calm, the more anxious we actually become. It's like trying to fall asleep by commanding yourself to sleep. It just doesn't work that way. The hidden cost. Here's the key thing I really want you to understand. Safety strategies only give temporary relief. The calm never lasts. It's like putting a Band-Aid on something that needs stitches. And the cost? The cost is actually really high. Because while we're busy keeping the alarm quiet, while we're constantly playing it safe and avoiding discomfort, we're stepping further and further away from our values, our goals, and the life we really want to live. We're choosing comfort over meaning, safety over growth, the familiar over the fulfilling. So what can you do instead? I know what you might be thinking. Okay, but what am I supposed to do when I feel anxious? Just nothing? Not quite. Here's the first step, and it's simpler than you might think. Simply notice. Notice when you're reaching for a safety behavior. Notice when you're trying to avoid a feeling or chase absolute certainty. Notice the urge before you automatically act on it. And here's what's important. You don't have to change anything yet. I'm not asking you to suddenly stop all your safety behaviors. That would be overwhelming and probably wouldn't work anyway. Just become aware. Just observe yourself with curiosity and compassion. Because becoming aware, just that act of noticing, begins to loosen the alarm's grip on you. It creates that precious space between the feeling and your automatic reaction. A reflection for you. Let me invite you to try something right now. Think of a recent situation that made you anxious. Maybe it was yesterday, maybe it was this morning. Got one? Now ask yourself, how did I respond? Did I avoid something? Did I check something repeatedly? Did I overthink every detail? Did I distract myself? Did I seek reassurance from someone? Which of these safety strategies felt most familiar to you? Which one do you reach for most often? You might discover, as you reflect on this, that many of your daily habits, things you do almost without thinking, are actually attempts to quiet the alarm. Patterns you've developed over years, maybe even decades. And that's okay. There's no need to judge yourself. No need to feel ashamed or frustrated. This is simply how the human brain learns. You've been doing your best with the tools you had. The hopeful truth. But here's the hopeful, beautiful truth that I want you to hold on to. The more you practice noticing these patterns, and the more you gently challenge these strategies, not by forcing yourself, but by slowly, gradually choosing differently, the less you need them. And over time, your alarm learns a new message, a different lesson. It starts to understand, oh, maybe I don't need to ring so loudly after all. Maybe things are actually okay. So here's what I want you to understand. The challenge isn't to get rid of the alarm completely. It's not to shut it down or silence it forever. That's not realistic, and honestly, it's not even the goal. The challenge is to stop giving it cookies every time it cries, to step into life even while the alarm is buzzing in the background, to show your brain, through your actions, through your choices, that you can handle uncertainty, that you can survive mistakes, that you can even handle disapproval or discomfort. And when you do, when you start making those choices, even small ones, you discover a new kind of freedom, a different way of living, a life not ruled by fear, but guided by choice. Not a life where anxiety disappears completely, but a life where it no longer gets to decide what you do, where you go, or who you become. Chapter 5. Breaking the Cycle. Okay, friend, let's take a breath together. Up until now, we've been on this journey of understanding how your inner alarm works. We've explored why it rings way too often even when there's no real danger. And we've looked at how all our attempts to shut it down by avoiding things, checking things over and over, distracting ourselves, actually just make it ring louder and more insistently. So now we're at the big question, the one you've probably been waiting for. How do we actually break this cycle? How do we stop living at the mercy of this alarm? And here's what I need you to understand right from the start, because this is crucial. The answer is not about silencing the alarm completely, because you can't. And honestly, you wouldn't want to, even if you could. The alarm is built into you. It's part of your survival system. And in the right moments, like when you're crossing a busy street or when something genuinely dangerous is happening, you actually need it. The real solution is to change how you respond when it rings. Instead of immediately obeying it, instead of scrambling to make sure everything is certain, perfect, and completely under control, you begin to act in line with your values, even with the alarm buzzing away in the background. This is what it means to break the cycle. Not to eliminate the alarm, but to stop letting it be the boss of you. Walking forward into uncertainty. Let's start with uncertainty, because this is probably the thing your alarm hates most. It believes with absolute conviction that if you don't know exactly what will happen, you're in danger. It wants guarantees. It wants certainty. It wants to know, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that everything will be okay. But here's the truth, and I mean really sit with this for a moment. Life is uncertain. It always has been. It always will be. And the only way to live fully, the only way to actually live and not just survive, is to learn to walk forward anyway. To take steps into the unknown. Think about it for a second. Think about every meaningful choice you've ever made in your life. Falling in love, starting a new job or career, moving to a new city, having a child, starting a business, reaching out to make a new friend, creating something and sharing it with the world. Every single one of these beautiful, meaningful experiences involved uncertainty. You couldn't control the outcome. You didn't have all the answers. You couldn't guarantee it would work out. But you chose to show up anyway. And that's where life happens, in those uncertain spaces. Each time you do this, each time you move forward without complete certainty, you're teaching your brain something revolutionary. Uncertainty is not the enemy. The alarm might still ring. It might still say, "But what if?" But we don't know. But it might go wrong. And you can acknowledge it. Yes, alarm, I hear you. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. But I'm doing this anyway. Embracing imperfection. Next, let's talk about perfection. Your alarm whispers or sometimes shouts, "Don't mess up. Don't fail. Don't let anyone see your flaws. If you do, they'll know you're not good enough." So you overwork until you're exhausted. You overprepare until you're paralyzed. Or you hold back altogether because if you never try, you can never fail, right? But here's what I want you to really hear. Perfection is an illusion. It's a mirage that keeps moving further away the closer you try to get to it. Real growth, real, meaningful growth, comes from trying, from failing, from learning, from being wonderfully, messily human.
Every invention that changed the world built on failed prototypes. Every piece of art that moved people, created through trial and error and revisions. Every success story you've ever heard, built on a foundation of mistakes and lessons learned along the way. Thomas Edison tried thousands of times before he got the light bulb to work. And when someone asked him about all those failures, he said something brilliant. "I haven't failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." When you allow yourself to be imperfect, when you give yourself permission to stumble, to learn, to try and maybe fall and then get back up, you weaken the alarm's grip on you. You show it, through your actions, that mistakes aren't fatal. They're just part of being human. And honestly, when you stop trying to be perfect, you become so much more relatable, more authentic, more you. And that's actually what people connect with anyway. Releasing responsibility for others. And then there's the third one, responsibility. Your alarm might tell you, you must keep everyone happy. You must keep everyone safe. You must make sure no one is upset or disappointed. So you say yes when everything in you wants to say no. You carry burdens that were never yours to carry in the first place. You twist yourself into knots trying to manage other people's emotions. But here's a truth that might feel uncomfortable at first, but is ultimately so freeing. You can't control other people's feelings or choices. You just can't. It's not possible, no matter how hard you try. You can love them. You can support them. You can show up for them. You can be kind and thoughtful and considerate. But their happiness, their safety, their emotional well-being, those are not yours to guarantee. They belong to them. Letting go of this weight doesn't mean you stop caring. Not at all. It doesn't mean you become selfish or cold. It means you start living. It means you stop drowning under the impossible burden of being responsible for everyone else's inner world. How do you actually practice this in daily life? How do you start breaking these patterns? Here's what it looks like. When you notice yourself reaching for certainty, when you catch yourself about to Google something for the 5th time, or make yet another pro-con list, or seek reassurance again, pause, take a breath, and allow yourself to move forward without all the answers. When you feel the pressure to be perfect, when you catch yourself over-editing that email for the 10th time, or avoiding starting something because you're not sure you can do it perfectly, try anyway. Start messy, stumble,
Be a beginner. When you feel responsible for everyone, when you notice yourself about to say yes to something you don't want to do, or taking on someone else's problem as your own, step back. Set a boundary. Let others own their feelings. Each time you do any of these things, even in small ways, you're sending a powerful new message to your brain. I can live fully, even with the alarm ringing. The alarm might get louder first. Now, I'm not going to pretend this is easy. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. At first, when you start doing things differently, the alarm might actually get louder. It might panic. It might scream at you. Why? Because it's used to being obeyed. It's used to running the show. It's just like a child who's used to getting candy every time they cry. When you suddenly say no, when you change the pattern, the cries get stronger at first. They test you. They escalate. Are you sure you're not going to give me candy? Because I can cry much louder if you need me to. But if you stay calm and steady, if you don't give in, eventually the cries fade. The child learns that crying doesn't get them candy anymore, so they stop trying. Your alarm works the same way. It might scream at first, "This is dangerous. We need certainty. We need perfection. We need to fix everyone." But if you keep moving toward what matters to you, if you keep taking those small, brave steps, the alarm learns something new. It learns that you are actually safe, that you can handle things, that uncertainty, imperfection, and letting go don't lead to catastrophe. And gradually, gently, it begins to quiet down. Your turn to reflect. Here's a reflection I want you to sit with. Think about one area of your life where anxiety often shows up. Just one. Maybe it's at work, or in your relationships, or around your health. Now ask yourself, what would it look like to tolerate just a little bit of uncertainty there? Not diving into the deep end, just dipping your toe in the water. What would it look like to allow yourself one small mistake, one moment of imperfection? What would it look like to let go of carrying just one small piece of someone else's burden? You don't have to change everything at once. You don't have to be brave in every area of your life all at the same time. Even small experiments can begin to break the cycle. Building a new way of living. The path forward is not about eliminating anxiety. Let me say that again so it really lands. This is not about making anxiety disappear. It's about building resilience. It's about learning through practice and experience that you can live with uncertainty. You can handle mistakes. You can sit with discomfort. And you can still move toward the life you actually want, the life that matters to you, the life that aligns with your values. And with practice, with patient, compassionate practice, this becomes more than just a coping strategy or a technique you use when things get hard. It becomes a new way of living, freer, fuller, more authentic, more at peace. Not because the alarm is gone, but because you've learned to hear it, acknowledge it, and then choose your next step anyway. That's real freedom. And it's available to you starting right now with the very next choice you make.
Chapter 6. Tools for Living Beyond Anxiety. All right, friend, let's take stock of where we are. By now, you've learned that anxiety is essentially an overactive alarm system. It rings too often, too loudly, and for situations that aren't truly dangerous. You've also seen how all those things we do to try to silence it, our safety behaviors, our avoidance, our constant checking, actually just make it stronger over time. So now we're at a really important question. How do we actually live beyond the alarm? Not by fighting it like it's an enemy, not by trying to eliminate it completely, but by learning practical tools that help us shift our focus, build real resilience, and live a life that's guided by purpose and meaning, not fear. Let me share some of these tools with you. These aren't just theories or ideas. These are things you can actually start using today. Worry time. Taking back control. Let me introduce you to something simple, but surprisingly powerful. It's called worry time. Here's how it works. Instead of letting worry run wild all day long, hijacking your attention,
When your designated worry time arrives, you sit down with your list. And here's what you'll often discover. Some of those worries that felt so urgent and pressing earlier, they've already faded. They feel less important now. They've lost some of their charge. The ones that still buzz with anxiety, you can look at them now with a little more distance, a little more perspective. You're choosing to engage with them rather than being ambushed by them. And when the timer goes off after 15 or 20 minutes, you set the list aside. Worry time is over. This doesn't eliminate anxiety. I want to be clear about that. But what it does do is put you back in charge. It puts you back in the driver's seat of when and how you engage with your worries. You're not at their mercy anymore. They don't get to interrupt your life whenever they feel like it. Positive focus. Retraining your attention. Here's another powerful tool. Positive focus. Anxiety has trained your mind to constantly scan for threats, to look for what's wrong, what might go wrong, what could be dangerous. It's like having a mental security guard who only ever reports bad news. So you need to gently, intentionally retrain your attention to also notice what's good, what's safe, and what's nourishing in your life. Here's a simple practice you can start tonight. At the end of each day, maybe right before bed or during dinner, pause for just a moment and ask yourself these questions. What went well today? Even something small. What moment made me smile or feel good? What did I handle better than I expected? Maybe it's as simple as, I had a nice conversation with a coworker, or the sun felt warm on my face at lunch, or I got through that meeting I was dreading and it was actually fine. These might feel like tiny, almost trivial things, but they're not. These small reflections are actually rewiring your attention. They're teaching your brain that life is not just danger and risk and things to worry about. It's also safety. It's also joy. It's also connection and beauty and small moments of grace. Over time, this practice helps balance out the negativity bias that anxiety creates. It doesn't eliminate the alarm, but it gives you a more complete picture of your life. Practicing imperfection, the antidote to perfectionism. Next up, practicing imperfection. If your alarm demands perfection from you, and let's be honest, most of our alarms do, then the antidote is gentle, intentional imperfection. This is about deliberately doing things good enough instead of perfect, and watching what happens. Spoiler, usually nothing bad happens at all. Here's some ways to practice. Show up to that meeting with notes that aren't perfectly polished. Send the email or text without rereading it 10 times. Let the house stay a little messy for a day. Post something on social media without overthinking every word. Try that new recipe without following the instructions exactly. Share your work before it feels completely ready. Each small act of imperfection teaches your alarm something crucial. Mistakes are survivable. In fact, often they don't even matter as much as you feared. Sometimes people don't even notice. And when they do notice, they usually don't care nearly as much as your alarm insisted they would. I'll be honest with you, this one can feel really uncomfortable at first. Your alarm will probably protest loudly. It'll say, "No, we can't. What if?" And you can acknowledge it. I know this feels scary, but I'm going to try anyway. Each time you do, you're building evidence that perfection isn't required for you to be okay. Building real resilience. Now, let's zoom out it for a moment and look at the bigger picture. Beyond specific tools and techniques, the real goal here is to build genuine resilience.
And I want to be really clear about what resilience actually means, because it's often misunderstood. Resilience doesn't mean you never feel anxious. That's not the goal, and that's not realistic. Resilience means you know, deep in your bones from lived experience, that you can face anxiety when it shows up. You can sit with discomfort. You can handle uncertainty. And you can still keep moving forward toward what matters to you. Resilience isn't something you're born with or without. It's something you build, one small experience at a time. It grows every time you tolerate a bit of uncertainty instead of demanding complete certainty. It grows every time you welcome a difficult feeling instead of immediately trying to avoid it or push it away. And it grows each time you choose to act in line with your values, even when the alarm is buzzing loudly in the background, even when anxiety is telling you not to. Think of it like building a muscle. The first time you lift a weight, it's hard. It feels impossible. But you do it again and again, and gradually it gets easier. You get stronger. That's how resilience works with anxiety. The essential role of compassion. Along this journey, there's something absolutely essential that needs to be part of the mix: compassion. Anxiety often makes us incredibly harsh with ourselves. That critical inner voice says things like, "Why can't I just get over this already? Why am I so weak? Everyone else can handle this. What's wrong with me? I should be past this by now." But compassion? Compassion softens that voice. It offers a different message. I'm human. I'm learning. I'm doing my best with what I have right now. When you meet your anxiety with kindness instead of judgment, something important happens. You stop adding shame on top of fear. And that makes such a difference, because shame is heavy. Shame is exhausting. Shame makes everything harder. But kindness? Kindness gives you space to breathe, space to try, space to stumble and get back up. Think about it this way. If a good friend came to you struggling with anxiety, would you tell them they're weak and pathetic? Of course not. You'd be kind. You'd be understanding. You'd encourage them. You deserve that same kindness from yourself. Living with purpose, the most powerful tool of all. And finally, let me share with you what I believe is the most powerful tool of all: living with purpose. This is what ties everything together. This is what makes all the other tools actually worth doing. Take a moment right now and ask yourself, what matters most to me? Not what you think should matter, not what other people say should matter, but what actually, genuinely matters to you. Is it family? Deep connections with people you love? Creativity and self-expression? Personal growth and learning? Being of service to others? Adventure and new experiences? Building something meaningful? Making a difference in your community? What lights you up? What makes you feel alive? What would you regret not doing if you looked back on your life? When you let your values guide you, something shifts. The alarm loses some of its power. It may still ring, probably will still ring, but it no longer gets to decide your path. It no longer gets the final say in what you do with your one precious life. Your purpose becomes louder than your fear. And that's when you start really living,
not just managing or coping or surviving, but actually living.
Bringing it all together. So here's what I want you to take away from this chapter. You don't need to get rid of anxiety to live fully. You really don't. What you need is to learn tools that help you guide your attention, shift your habits, and keep moving toward what matters to you. Worry time helps you manage intrusive thoughts instead of being hijacked by them. Positive focus helps you train your attention to see the full picture of your life, not just the threats. Practicing imperfection teaches you the freedom that comes from being human instead of trying to be flawless. Resilience grows as you face challenges and discover your own strength. Compassion makes the journey gentler and more sustainable. And purpose, living in alignment with what truly matters to you, shows you the way forward, even when the path feels uncertain. With these tools in your hands and in your heart, you don't just survive anxiety. You grow beyond it. Not by making it disappear, but by building a life that's bigger and more meaningful than your fear. Final chapter. Moving forward. Hey friend, we've reached the end of this audiobook, and I want to pause here with you for a moment. Just you and me. Because the fact that you've listened all the way through, that means something. That says something important about who you are. It means you've chosen not to give up on yourself. It means you're searching for a gentler, kinder way forward. And that choice, that simple act of showing up for yourself, already makes you stronger than you might feel right now.
I see you. I know what it's like to feel trapped in your own head, to replay conversations over and over, analyzing every word you said, to imagine worst-case scenarios in vivid detail, to wake up in the morning already feeling tired because the alarm never really stopped ringing, even while you slept. I know what it's like to cancel plans at the last minute because the anxiety feels too big, to avoid opportunities that could be amazing because the fear of failure feels overwhelming, to smile and say, "I'm fine," when inside you're barely holding it together. And for a long time, maybe you can relate to this, I believed that something was fundamentally wrong with me, that I was broken somehow, that I had to fix myself, had to become someone different before I could really, truly live. But here's the truth I've come to understand, and it's changed everything for me. It's the truth I want to leave with you today. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are beautifully, perfectly human. That alarm inside you, that anxious voice that won't quiet down, it's not evidence of your failure or your weakness. It's simply overprotective. Like a well-meaning security guard who takes their job a little too seriously. It doesn't mean you're failing at life. It just means your brain is trying a little too hard to keep you safe. What we've discovered together. Throughout this audiobook, we've explored different ways to work with the alarm instead of constantly fighting against it. We've talked about how chasing absolute certainty, trying to know exactly what will happen, only feeds the worry and makes it grow stronger. We've explored how the pursuit of perfection keeps us small, exhausted, and afraid to try new things or take risks. We've recognized how carrying the weight of everyone else's feelings and problems only leaves us drained, resentful, and running on empty. But we haven't just talked about what doesn't work, we've also practiced new ways forward. Real, practical tools you can use. Setting aside worry time so your anxious thoughts don't get to control and interrupt your whole day. Noticing what's good in your life instead of only scanning for danger and problems. Allowing small imperfections as living proof that life doesn't fall apart when you let go of impossible standards. And most of all, choosing to live guided by your purpose and values, not by fear. These tools aren't about eliminating anxiety. I want to be really clear about that one more time. They're not magic pills that make it disappear forever. They're about reclaiming your life from anxiety, about not letting it be the boss of you anymore. My story. And here's where I want to get really personal with you for a moment. I don't just share these ideas and tools because they sound nice theoretically, or because I read them in a book somewhere. I share them because they've genuinely made a difference in my own life. There was a time when my alarm controlled almost every single decision I made. Every choice, big or small, had to be filtered through the lens of, but what if something goes wrong? I'd say no to opportunities, good opportunities, exciting opportunities, because I was terrified of failing or looking foolish. I'd replay conversations in my head for hours, sometimes days, worried that I had said something wrong or offended someone. I'd carry guilt and responsibility for things that weren't mine to carry. Other people's happiness, other people's problems, other people's choices. And I was exhausted, just completely worn out from constantly trying to manage everything, control everything, prevent anything bad from ever happening. But slowly, and I really mean slowly, this wasn't an overnight transformation, I began to experiment with the tools you've just heard about. I practiced letting things be uncertain without immediately reaching for my phone to research or check or seek reassurance. I let myself make small mistakes without rushing to cover them up or apologize profusely or beat myself up. I started saying no when I needed to, even when it felt uncomfortable, even when I worried people might be disappointed. And little by little, something began to shift. The alarm was still there. It didn't disappear. Some days it was still loud, but it wasn't my boss anymore. It wasn't running my life, making all my decisions for me. It became background noise instead of the main soundtrack of my life. I could hear it, acknowledge it, and then choose what to do anyway. And that shift, that change in the relationship I had with my own anxiety, it gave me my life back. What matters most to you? So, as we close this audiobook together, I want to invite you to sit with a simple but profound question. What matters most to me? Not, what does my alarm want me to avoid? Not, how do I make sure I never feel anxious again? Not, how do I become someone who doesn't have anxiety? But truly, genuinely, from the deepest part of yourself, what kind of life do I want to live? What lights you up? What makes you feel alive and engaged? What would you regret not doing? What would make you feel proud when you look back on your life? Who do you want to be in your relationships? What do you want to create or contribute? What experiences do you want to have? And then, here's the invitation, the challenge, the next step. Take one small step today toward that life. Just one. It doesn't have to be big or dramatic or life-changing. Even if your alarm rings while you're doing it, it probably will. Even if you feel uncertain, you might. Even if you feel
imperfect or awkward or like you don't quite know what you're doing. That's okay too. Take the step anyway. Because here's what I've learned, and what I hope you're starting to see. The measure of your life is not how quiet your alarm becomes. It's not about achieving some perfectly calm, anxiety-free state where you float through life without ever feeling worried or scared or uncertain. The measure of your life is how bravely, how compassionately, how purposefully you choose to live, even with the alarm ringing. It's about the choices you make, the risks you take, the love you give, the things you create, the moments you show up for.
Thank you. I want to thank you, really thank you, for spending this time with me, for trusting me to sit with you through your fears, your questions, your doubts, and your hopes, for being vulnerable enough to admit you're struggling and brave enough to look for a different way. It means more than you might realize, because I know how hard this can be. I know the courage it takes to face anxiety instead of just trying to push it away or pretend it's not there. A final reminder to carry with you. And as you move forward from here, as you close this audiobook and step back into your life, I hope you carry this reminder in your heart. You are stronger than you believe. You are more capable than you realize. And even with anxiety, even with the alarm, even with the fear and uncertainty, you can live a full, rich, deeply meaningful life. Not someday in the distant future when you finally get over your anxiety. Not when you become a different person or fix what's broken, but starting right now. Today, in this very moment. The life you want? It's not on the other side of anxiety. It's on the other side of the choice to live anyway. So take that breath. Take that step. Trust yourself a little more than the alarm. You've got this, friend. You really do. And I'm rooting for you every step of the way.